Okay, this is the third tutorial in the Inkscape series. In this tutorial, we'll look at a technique to create logos like you see here that Dell Computer Company and Palm Company have. Very quick, simple way to start getting into some more advanced logo design. Now, let's go ahead and get started. Please grab your ellipse tool, and you want to hold Control as you draw your ellipse. Okay, now, if you were messing with your fill and stroke, I'll go ahead and close mine. If you're messing with your fill and stroke and you have a gradient or something like that, you're going to need to fix that first. So let's go ahead and bring up our fill and stroke dialog. So again, I'm going to Object and Fill and Stroke. So again, you want to look at your Fill tab, make sure that it's on flat color for now. And then if you have a stroke, let's just go ahead and take that off by clicking the X, because we do not need a stroke for this shape. So I'm going to go back to my fill, and we're actually going to use a radial gradient here. So I'm going to click on my radial gradient option. Okay, now to start with, it's going to kind of flip your colors. So I'm going to go ahead and just move mine down so I can make it a little bigger for you guys to see. Okay, now, so we need to fix that radial gradient. So the first thing I'm going to do is in my fill dialog box, I'm going to click on Edit. So I get this dialog box here. So what I want to do is I want to change my first stop to be white. And I'm making sure my alpha channel or my opacity is all the way up. And now I'm going to go to my second stop, and it is red. However, the reason I'm not really seeing what I want to see is the opacity needs to come over. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one in red. You guys can do any color you like. This effect works, really with any color. So now I have my nice radial gradient. I'm going to close this. A lot of us are getting the habit of not closing this. You always want, when you're done editing what you want to do, let's just close that. Okay, now I want to move my shine so it looks like it's coming from the top left-hand corner, much like I have here or in the Palm logo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my Create Edit Gradients. So I'm going to edit this. So I'm going to grab this node here, move it to the top left, and then I'm going to extend my shine across my shape. Now, this one I don't really want to go all the way up because I want it to look a more concentrated shine, and this one I might bring all the way up. And that's just kind of an eyeball deal. Just kind of see what you like. Okay, so we're good there. So I'm going to hit F1. So F1 gets my selection tool. So really what we do is we use the concept that we use in the funky text tutorial to create copies, and then using that dynamic offset we can add a lot more features to our logo. So let's go ahead and get started with that process. So remember, the first thing is hit Control D. So now I have a duplicate, and I'm going to go ahead and change that to a light gray for now, just so I can see it. Okay. So immediately I'm going to go to Object, Path, Dynamic Offset, and I'm going to point out in this tutorial that Control J is the shortcut for dynamic offset. That can be a very useful, rather than having to go up here, just a quick Control J. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And again, I get this node, so I'm going to go up a little bit. And then to see what that looks like, I'm looking for the page down button on the right hand side of my keyboard, and I'm just going to hit that once. Okay? So there it is. And I'm going to go just a bit more here. Out. There we go. Okay, so now I'm on that shape, and I'm going to hit F1 so I have it selected, and I'm also going to add a gradient to this shape. So if I go to radial gradient, on my fill dialog box, I'll get that radial gradient. I need to edit that. Okay, I had a brief interruption there, so I'm back. So again, what you want to do is add that radial gradient to your fill on that second shape, and then again I'm going to edit that So I look here, okay, I have two gray ones. Well, the first one again, I want to be white actually, not gray. So I'm going to make that part white. And then this one, again, the problem is that it is gray, which is what I want. However, you need to bring that alpha channel all the way over. So then I kind of get that almost metallic look to it. Okay, so that's again the second one. So we're going to do one more duplication. So I'm going to go Control D to duplicate. And then I want this one to actually be just pure white. So I'm going to change my fill to this object to be white. Just a flat white. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do my dynamic offset. Path. Dynamic offset. And this one, instead of going out, I'm actually going to come in just a hair. Now, I probably need to page down to see what's going on, but I can kind of see. But let's go ahead and page down. So again, I'm just hitting the page down button, and I'm going to go a little bit more in. Right about there, I kind of like. Okay, now with this one, I'm going to actually bring the opacity down just about to maybe 85, and then I'm going to blur it ever so slightly. So I'm going to blur it about, I kind of like 1 or 2 kind of blurs it a little bit more. If you go to 2, just bring the opacity down a little bit more. What we're trying to do is just kind of get a white shine over the top of that gray. And I actually am going to bring my blur back down and then bring this back up a little bit. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to hit F1. And now I kind of have my convex logo. So the next step really is just to add some text. So I'm going to click on text. Now I want to point something out with the text tool. A lot of us yesterday had problems because we were drawing like this and then typing. That causes a lot of problems, especially if you want to do that funky text feature or anything like that. So what I want to point out is when I'm just going to do a Control Z to undo this. When you get your text tool, just click once, type what you want. So I'm just going to do logo, and then immediately hit F1. Now, if I hold Control, I can resize my text to the size I want. So I kind of like that size, so I'm good with that. And I'm actually going to add a slight stroke to this one. So I'm on my object, I have a black fill, but I want to add just a white stroke to it. Okay, and you won't see it yet, but you'll see it when I put it on here. It kind of helps separate your text and make it look a little better. Again, if I want a little thicker one, I'm just going to stroke style, and I could dial up my width. So I kind of bring it up just a bit. Okay. Alright, now I want to align this perfectly so that it's perfectly centered in my circle. Now I can sit here and try and eyeball it, but there's a lot easier way to do that in Inkscape. So before I align it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and group this object. So I'm just doing a marquee selection. This is called drawing a box around it, marquee selection. And I'm going to do a Control G. Control G is grouping. So I'm just going to kind of move it. Okay, it looks good. It's grouped. Okay, once I have it grouped, I want to select both my shape and my text. So I'm going to hold Shift and click on my logo. That allows me to click both. Okay, so what we need to bring up now, and I'm just going to close this for now. What we're going to bring up now is what's called our Align and Distribute dialog box. So I go to Object and then Align and Distribute. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. So we get all these buttons up. So again, as long as you have them both selected, what you can do, make sure this is relative to selection, and you center on vertical axis, so that centers it vertically. And then if I center on the horizontal axis, I know it is perfectly centered in my shape there. So as with every tutorial, you should have a product that you will then post to your wiki page. Now, if you guys want to try and do another one with another shape, that's fine. Let me just show you something with the rectangular tool real quick. So if I draw a rectangle, and my problem is right now is that it's white, so I'm going to bring up this, change my fill to red so we can see it. My opacity is all the way down. So if I draw a rectangle, it's really quick and easy. You can make a square, or I can do these rounded rectangles very easily by moving these nodes. So if you wanted to, as we start doing more logos, you could do this to any shape you want. It's basically a duplicate and a layering issue. Okay, so you should have one logo similar to one of these, and you'll be saving that as logo in your business software folder, and you'll have that for the wiki. All right.